Okay, hi guys. We're going to do something very similar to completing the square. So if you see right here, this is vertex form. You already know what A, B, and C are. So A is just the first term in the problem. And then H and K, H is your X value and K is your Y value. So notice that the formula has a negative H. And that's because right here, remember we talked about X lies, so it's always backwards. So what I'm going to teach you to do is to write this in vertex form. You're going to find the axis of symmetry and the vertex, and we're just going to plug them in. So the first thing you're going to do here is negative b over 2a, because that's how you find the axis of symmetry. So a is 1, because there's a 1 in front of x squared. B is 6, and C is negative 5. So I'm going to plug what I need in. So negative 6 divided by 2 times 1. This is going to give me negative 3. So now to find my y value, because I need that, I'm going to take my equation, x squared plus 6x minus 5, and I'm going to plug in negative 3, because we know that negative 3 is the x value of the vertex. It's not just the axis of symmetry, it's both. Okay, so when I plug this in, you want to make sure that you put the negative 3 in a parenthesis always, because when you square something negative without a parenthesis, it's not going to give you the right number. So this is going to give me 9, that's going to give me negative 18, take away 5. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take those values and we're going to put them into the equation that I wrote at the top here. So y equals A was 1, so we don't really need anything there. X minus, now H in this case is this right here, the X value, negative 3. So a double negative in there is going to make this say plus 3 squared. And then K is negative 14. This is my K, so minus 14. So I know you're looking at that and you're not entirely sure what I just did, so let's keep going. Let's try another one. Okay, number 2. So we're going to use same formula, negative b over 2a, and we're going to identify a is 1 and b is negative 9. C is 6. I don't need it though. Okay, so we're going to plug it in. Negative 9 gets plugged in and becomes positive. 2 times 1 is 2. So this one's a little different because 9 divided by 2 doesn't work very nicely, so we're going to leave it 4.5. Okay, now we're going to plug it in. 4.5 squared minus 9 times 4.5 plus 6. And we're going to find our y value. So if I take my calculator, 4.5 squared minus 9 times 4.5 plus 6, I get negative 14.25. So I'm going to go back to my formula. It's right above. Y equals A is 1. So I can put a 1. I don't have to put anything. X minus 4.5 squared. And then plus K, which is minus 14.25. So it's going to look weird, but that's the answer. So in this case, let's just clarify something. My vertex is actually 4.5 and negative 14.25. Okay, and my vertex on the last one would have said negative 3 and negative 14. Okay, let's try it again. A is 1, B is 2, X equals negative B over 2A. Yes, you have to remember that formula. So negative 2 over 2 times 1, this is going to give me negative 1. So let's plug in negative 1 and see what we get for y. So negative 1 squared is going to give me 1, plus 2 times negative 1 is going to give me negative 2, minus 5. This is going to give me negative 6. So when y equals a, which is 1 again, x plus 1, because it's a liar, squared minus 6. So my vertex in this question would be -1, -6, just like it says right here, except when I plug it into the formula, the x changes. Okay? All right. Now this time I'm missing c, but it doesn't matter because I don't need it. A is 1, b is 10. So x equals -b over 2a. So this is -10 over 2 times 1, which is going to give me -5. And then I'm going to plug in -5 plus 10 times -5. Okay, so -5 squared is going to give me positive 25. And then this is going to give me -50. So this is going to give me... Okay, so my vertex is -5, -25. But when I write it, it's going to say x plus 5 squared minus 25. Okay, so knowing how to write the formula is something you're going to have to do on your own. It's not on your formula sheet. Knowing this axis of symmetry formula, again, the only reason you would need it is if the question specifically asks you for vertex form. So now a is 5. Okay, so this is just a little different because a is no longer 1, but it's still the same steps, no big deal. -b over 2a. So x equals -10 over 2 times 5. So this is going to give me -1. So we're going to go ahead and plug in -1. 5 times -1 squared. Notice I'm using parentheses. You have to with the negatives. All right, so plug it in your calculator. I get -3. So that's my vertex, -1, -3. But now, when I write my equation, notice there's a 5 in the front now because 5 is a, so I need to account for that. And then I am going to change the x to a positive 1 and the y stays the same. We got one more, right? Okay, a is 4, b is -40, so plug it in, -b over 2a. So it's going to say 40 over 2 times 4. So 40 divided by 8 is 5. All right, we're going to plug in 5. In a print, 40 minus 1. All right, so first we have to square the 5, or you could just type the entire thing into your calculator the way I wrote it, but make sure you do exponents first. This gives me -101. Okay, so that means my vertex is 5 and -101. So if I'm going to write myself an equation, it's going to say a, which is 4, x minus h, which is x minus 5, squared minus 101. All right, guys, good luck. Try to do this on your own.